OJ Simpson kills those two people so hard, they stop making the Ford Bronco.
This is called a...
Hey, everybody. How we doing? You want to know how my life is doing? My life is...
This is called a stabbing motion! Stabbing motion! Stabbing motion!
My life is. How are we all doing? Oh, my God. So, here we are. Whew. Well, that was an adventure. All right. By way of explanation, apologies for starting 1 hour later than normal and 1 hour later than scheduled. Life is a shambles sometimes. No, I had to do a high-end whiskey and Cuban cigar tasting, even had to lead a tasting event this evening that was supposed to finish an hour earlier than it did, but they kept me there and they wouldn't let me escape. And I learned that probably the only thing worse than StreamYard is YouTube and Twitter's interface on a mobile phone. Their apps are both just shit. You can't adjust or edit future tweets. You can schedule tweets to be released, but on the app you cannot access them on the Twitter app, and you can't even access them on the mobile using the Twitter web address. And similarly, you can't use the YouTube Studio app to change scheduled programs. So I had to dig my way through the YouTube site on my mobile phone, get into the studio, which was a mess. So here we are. That's why I was an hour late to begin with, is because this whiskey and cigar tasting was going to be going a little bit late. And then they wouldn't let me go, so it delayed another hour. So apologies for all of that. But we're here now. Sorry about all that. We'll still do our full 2 hours. I should be wrapping things up right about now, but we're just getting started, it seems. And we've got the two super chats. One was there we go. There's the first one. Let's get these out of the way real quick here. Fondian says, bring on the goat, Larac. Don't know why you're putting that in quotes. It's a goat. We all know it's a goat. Even those of you that don't know it's a goat, know it's a goat. Just saying. And Steve the Sheep God, one of my loyal worshipers, Valhalla has confirmed it's a sheep. Recognize or I will smite thee. Hey, I'm not going to tell a sheep how to identify. That's its deal, and it's a goat. Irish was drunk. Irish, I was drunk. Welcome. How are we, lads and lasses? We are late, but we are still here. We have lots of people that are in goat denial. They'll just have to get over it. Let's have to accept things for what they are. And we have our poll up. Today, I hit the like button ages ago because I was here first. A bit late, but not as late as you. And right now, because you reminded me, and like I want to hit Nancy Grace. Those are our four choices for tonight's why or how I hit the like button. Why, how, or when we hit the like button, I guess it is tonight. So we're going to be doing the OJ Simpson thing. We're going back into the cross-examination. This is our second part of Dennis Fung's cross-examination by BARRY SCHECK. We keep ramping up the heat. We're going to be doing well. Some fun stuff here tonight. Let me pull up the screen that I closed to kind of give us a little bit of a background when it's that time. But first, let's just go over what's going to be happening over the next little while. Give us our little weekend preview like we always do at the beginning, so you know what's coming up tomorrow. Just don't miss tomorrow. That's all I have to say. If there's one show a month you watch, you want it to be the F It Friday. We just have guests on. You throw all of your money at me on one day, so I don't have to worry about it the rest of the month. $100 super chat gets a drink of a top shelf premium whiskey, which, as the poll decided yesterday, is this beauty right here, a Glenmorangie Signet. Ooh, pretty. That's what we will be consuming tomorrow for the one. Ow, mother. It's magnetized, so it shuts pretty hard. That will be the top shelf whiskey. And then the aggregate $100. So the $10 shot, the $10 super chats, or $25 super chats, or whatever combination leads up to 100, we'll get a lower shelf whiskey, but still a very good high quality whiskey. I'm not sure what we're gonna do yet, but these days my Ecuador 10-year has been calling my name, so that might be the lower tier whiskey that is consumed. So that's gonna be happening tomorrow. An amazing lineup of guests. We've got Meme Copium, Steph the Alter Nerd, Wilhelm Goldberg, who is Drex's friend, who is a big, renowned, hilarious chubby chaser. He'll be here to talk about the chubs. Ariadna Jacob will be here. Ozzy Overlord, Megan Fox, the writer, not the thumbs, will be here. Joe Neerman, Good Logic. Potentially Criminal Sean is going to pop in for a bit. The T-Man, the proprietor of the Dragon's Treasure, T, will be here. Hannah Frond, Christina Radix Verum, she will be here. Valiant Renegade, I'm hoping, is going to make an appearance. He should be here. And we've also invited Drex. Drex is going to be here if he can. Invitations are still out to Mike from Chicago, Law Talk with Mike, and a few others. Rob from Law and Lumber, some and other people that haven't responded yet, but we'll see if they pop in. So it's going to be a blowout show tomorrow. Don't want to miss it. Last time our 2-hour show went 8.5 hours. It was great. Just going to get ripped, have fun, grift. I'm just going to grift like a madman so that we don't have to do it. All right. That's what's coming up on Friday. Next Monday, Maritime Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be watching the interrogation videos of the alleged suitcase murderer, Sarah Boone. And in the meantime, we're going to be talking about the Idaho stuff as that develops and unfolds. The documents may be released as early as today. He may appear in court in Idaho today. There's no schedule as far as I know yet. But when it is, we'll be covering it one way or another. So that's what's going to be coming up through Wednesday of next week. And then next Thursday, here we are right back with some more OJ Simpson. My nose itches. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing, and that's what we are doing, and that's what we're going to be doing. So with all that out of the way, we can dive right into this. Hit the like button, take the poll. We currently have 186 viewers and 147 likes. So spot on, you guys. You're doing a good job. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And if you have hit that subscribe button, make sure you are still subscribed. I've been talking to other law tubers and law tube adjacent people, and some of them have lost up to 300 subscribers in 1 or 2 days. I've been lucky. I only had about 20 disappear the other day. So keep it coming. Just keep checking to make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification. Apparently notifications are working a little better these days on YouTube. That's totally anecdotal. I still never get any of them. All right, that's it. That's all the background stuff we need to get out of the way. So let's jump right into this without further ado. Where did we leave off? We left off with the very beginning of the cross-examination of Dennis Fung by BARRY SCHECK. One of the greatest cross-examinations you're ever going to see in your entire life is going to unfold over the next several weeks here. What we did the last week, we watched BARRY SCHECK get the lead criminologist on the murder case to admit not only that, I mean, we were talking about this last week. This policy, like, oh yeah, you have the manual, you have the checklist. You missed one checklist. You missed one thing. You did one thing out of order, so therefore you suck. That's not what this was. BARRY SCHECK got Dennis Fung, the lead criminologist for Los Angeles, to admit that he does not even know if there is a criminologist manual out there. He admitted under oath that he isn't aware of any manual. He's never seen the manual before. He doesn't know how it was prepared or who prepared it or even when it was prepared. And he admitted that he didn't know that it says right there in the very, very front part of the manual that he is supposed to have a copy of it in his criminologist van. That's not a great way to start your testimony. And then it turned out he had an assistant. Mazzola is her name. His assistant Mazzola, this was her fourth murder scene, I believe, her fourth murder investigation. And he filled out all the documents. Barry Scheck got him to admit under oath that he filled out all of the documents saying, I did this, I checked that, I collected this, I collected that. When it turns out that she collected everything. And he said, well, that was under my supervision. And within minutes, Barry Scheck got him to admit that he actually wasn't around watching his trainee collect some of this very important evidence at some very important times. Then he harped on her inexperience and his inexperience in training her. And then as we moved on, he was talking about I guess he was Van Adder was one of the head detectives who, because there was two separate crime scenes, Nicole Brown's house and OJ's house. Dennis Fung suggested that we have two forensic teams dealing, one at each site, and Van Adder refused an additional team. And the implication there is you had to hurry, you weren't careful, you had your assistant doing all this crap, so you did a lot of things wrong in a hurry to get over to the other crime scene. And just as we closed last week's cross-examination, Dennis Fung was in the middle of admitting that he was a little bit concerned about Ms. Mazzola's lack of experience. That's where we left off, and that's where we're going to pick up today. We'll try to minimize the goat because boy, the amount of hate mail I got about that goat yesterday. And it is a goat, so don't even start. Don't even start. It's a goat. Trust me. Yeah, the amount of hate mail I got about that was kind of off the hook. And I'll try to keep my comments a little bit minimized as well, because some people complained about one thing, some complained about the other, and a lot complained about both. You play 45 seconds of video and then you got to talk for 10 minutes and stop the fucking goat. So we got a lot of that. So we'll minimize it. We'll just bring the goat when the goat is necessary. And I may just use an audio in the future, not the actual goat video. So, all right, there we are. That's everything. And again, for the very last time, for at least the foreseeable future, like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and let's clear off these last couple of super chats and we will dive right into it. Steve the Sheep God. My name is Steve. We have to do this. Sorry.
Steve the Sheep God. My name is Steve. You misrepresented my sheep. Now prepare to die.
Got that out of the way. We'll see. Xcomer Jeff, will you do a review of MILF Manor that starts January 15th on TLC like you did 1899, since 1899 is canceled? No, I believe I answered this yesterday, or maybe it was in a chat or something, or maybe I intended to do it. But thankfully, we don't get TLC here in Korea. And even if we did, I wouldn't watch anything called MILF Manor. The only thing close to that I watch is the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Don't need any more MILFs in my life. And Xcomer, again, with another super chat. Jeff, did you invite Max Mura, the chat favorite, for F It Friday? Oh, I didn't do that. I should invite you, Max. Max, if you're watching, I'll invite you. If you're not watching, you'll see something when you wake up. That's a good idea. All righty. There we go. I believe we're caught up on all of these super chats, and we can dive right into it. Of course, as soon as I say that, we get another one. All righty. Let's wait for this to pop up on my screen here. Okay, this is it. Then we're seriously going to dive into this. Rick Nikita says, I bet you're related to that goof who brought the goat to Wrigley Field in the early 1900s. He started it all. All righty. Dennis Fung being cross-examined by Barry Scheck. And for those of you that suggested this ad blocker last week, thank you from the bottom of my ad-hating heart. The one I used apparently sucked and it wouldn't block the ads, but this one seems to have taken care of it quite nicely. So on that note, let's get right into the news, or the video anyway.
And you don't think that would make it slower?
Where I would lose time in one area, I could make up time in another area because there are two people there.
Well, if there were two people there, both of whom were trained, it would go faster, right?
Not necessarily.
No?
All right, there we go. We only got 33 seconds into it before I had to comment. Again, this is him just being stupid. Barry Scheck is just trying to get him to admit that if there was two teams, you could work faster. And that is just like the most basic idiotic piece of logic you can possibly come up with. But as we've said before, the police and the prosecution witnesses don't want to give the defense any ground whatsoever, even if it makes them look stupid, which this clearly does. He's just said, if you had two teams of experienced, trained people, wouldn't it go faster? And he just says not necessarily.
Were you worried that working with an entry-level person in a high-profile case would put a lot of pressure on her?
Was I worried about it?
Yeah.
I was aware of it.
Were you worried about it?
I'll check. It's irrelevant, but it is weird.
Sustained.
Were you worried that working with an entry-level person in this kind of a high-profile case when you were at Rockingham would put more pressure on you?
Objection irrelevant.
Oh, well. That was not a concern to me at that time.
Didn't cross your mind?
I didn't think about it, no.
Were you concerned that working with an entry-level person in this kind of case would produce a greater chance of mistakes? Was that a concern of yours that morning at Rockingham?
Now, again, that's a double-edged question. If he says, yes, I was concerned that having a newbie on the team would increase a risk of errors and mistakes, then he's going to get yelled at and crushed for not supervising her or not insisting on another team. If he says, no, I wasn't suspecting, I wasn't concerned about a newbie being on the team, and I didn't think it would increase the risk of mistakes, then that just sounds stupid, because clearly having an unsupervised trainee running around collecting evidence can lead to, just logically, the higher likelihood of mistakes. So Barry Scheck's got him in one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't answer. So let's see how he answers it.
That would be for any case, not just for a high profile case. If there's an entry level person or a person just starting out, I would watch them more closely than someone who is experienced.
Next question.
So in your mind, that morning at Rockingham, you realized that working with an entry-level person, there was a greater chance of mistakes,
And that's the next question.
right?
For that
That's what you
answer.
just said?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's what I just
And
said.
weren't you concerned when Detective Van Adder turned down your request for help that there was a greater chance of mistakes because you were working with an entry-level person and this was a high-profile case?
No ad.
Got a lot of factors in there. Could we go through them one at a time?
Sure. Asking you,
That was an uncomfortable look right there. That was a look of a man who wanted to be anywhere else. This, you can't use the arrow keys to go back, but
Got a lot of factors in there. Could we go through them one at a time?
sure.
that there is a look of, oh God. And mind you, there is still 8 more days to go, and he's already feeling like, oh crap, I want nothing to do with this anymore.
Asking you, we agreed that you knew when Detective Van Adder turned down your suggestion for extra help that this was a high-profile case, right? You knew that.
Yes.
You knew that you had to go to another crime scene where there was a double homicide.
Yes.
You knew that there would be press people at these crime scenes.
I didn't know that. I assumed there would be.
You anticipated it, didn't you?
Oh, I
Yes.
need a drink.
You anticipated that there would be police brass at these scenes watching your every movement.
Not necessarily, no.
Didn't anticipate that?
What do you mean by brass?
Higher ups in the police department at the scene watching.
Say it's higher ups.
Sustained.
All right. High-level officers in the police department, people of high rank. Did you anticipate that they may come to the scenes?
Still there.
Over.
People of high rank can always come to a scene.
Well, didn't you anticipate they would be coming to these two scenes?
Of course they would
could
be
have
coming.
come, yes.
Well, I'm asking you what your state of mind was. Didn't you anticipate that was going to happen here?
Of course you did.
I knew it was a possibility.
No, not what you
So,
asked. Answer the fucking
putting these
answer the
factors together.
freaking question.
She's an entry-level person. It's a high-profile case. There'll be press at the scenes. There'll be high-ranking people at the scenes. Didn't you become concerned when Detective Van Adder refused your request for extra
Irish
help
boy.
that there would be a greater possibility of mistakes here because you were using an entry-level person?
Argument is unintelligible.
It assumes one fact that's not in evidence as well. Also misstates one piece of the evidence.
Irish boy. He's like the most Jewish guy ever.
Maybe the word refused is a problem here. Detective Van Adder did not take your suggestion for extra help, right?
I did not suggest to him,
The same objection.
You made a suggestion to Detective Van Adder that extra help was needed, right?
no,
He said,
You asked him if he wanted extra help,
yes,
all right? And he told you no.
that's correct.
We're focusing on that moment. Now, at that moment,
From the long
reviewing
line
the
of
factors
Osheks.
again, entry-level person, press case, high-ranking officers at the scene. Didn't you think at that moment that there was going to be a greater chance of mistakes being made unless you got extra help?
Your Honor, same objections.
overruled.
I don't recall thinking about that when I was at the scene.
Madam Court Reporter, what's your status? Can you finish the hour? Proceed.
Do you think it was a mistake not to follow up with Detective Van Adder and say, Detective Van Adder, I think that we really ought to get more help in this case? Push him a little harder?
Argument has to be answered.
Sustained.
Have you discussed this case with Detective Van Adder since June 13th?
Yes,
Have you discussed with Detective Van Adder this issue of telling him that you were at the scene with an entry-level person?
no,
That hasn't arisen.
I don't recall discussing that with him.
Has Detective Van Adder ever criticized you for not telling him that you were there at the scene with an entry-level person?
I object. It misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
See, now that's interesting there too. The objection was it misstates the evidence, not that it was irrelevant, not that assumed facts that weren't in evidence, which means that Detective Van Adder at some point said something that resembled chastising Dennis Fung for not telling him there was a noob on the scene. So it says he's misrepresenting the facts, not that he's just making stuff up. And while we're here, definitely not Brandon says, what's my prediction for tomorrow? The F at Friday. Pain. Back to Dennis Fung.
Did Detective Van Adder ever tell you that he didn't think an entry-level person was the kind of person he would like working on this case?
Did he ever state that?
Yes. Did he ever state that to you?
No.
Now, Detective Van Adder asked you to process a red stain on the Bronco.
Yes.
And he told you that the Bronco was part of the crime scene.
Yes.
But there was no yellow tape around that Bronco, was there?
That's correct.
And there should have been.
Not necessarily.
Wasn't it proper to have a yellow tape surrounding that Bronco so that nobody could get to it, secure it as being within the crime scene?
It is not absolutely necessary to put up yellow tape to denote a crime scene.
Well, isn't it appropriate to put up yellow tape to surround important items of evidence to make sure people don't approach it and touch it?
Yes.
If the circumstances require it, yes.
Well, in your judgment, didn't the circumstances require putting a yellow tape around that Bronco to preserve the integrity of that important piece of evidence?
In the morning?
That morning,
No.
you didn't think so?
No.
Well, weren't they asking you to take a red stain off the door handle of that Bronco?
Yes.
Didn't you tell us on direct examination that you looked into that Bronco and you saw what you thought were blood stains in the Bronco?
Yes.
Yikes.
And did anybody express concern to you that later that Bronco is going to have to processed for fingerprints?
Yikes.
And you didn't think it was appropriate at that time to put a yellow tape around that Bronco to make sure people didn't walk over and touch that car?
At that,
The testimony is the word appropriate.
Overruled.
at that time in the morning, there was virtually nobody out in the
I'm sorry, I
neighborhood.
have to do this.
And it was very quiet. And
He's literally admitting that he never thought that it would be a good idea to cordon off the Bronco of OJ Simpson that apparently, allegedly, maybe had some blood in it at any time. That's ridiculous. You people, me, we would think of these things. We're like, hey, shouldn't there be like some way of telling people don't come over here? Not him.
and yellow tape may have attracted even more people.
Oh God,
So-
shut up.
That
Really?
the use of it wasn't necessary. There was nobody around.
That's what he's going with. Yellow tape.
Isn't it true
Yellow police
that
tape would have attracted people.
investigators are supposed to adhere to the criminalist's advice and direction
Idiot.
relating to the gathering of evidence?
Yes.
That's been a longstanding policy in the Los Angeles Police Department, hasn't it?
Yes.
You're aware of a memo from a person named Daryl Gates? You ever seen a memo by Daryl Gates about this issue?
We know Daryl Gates was the police chief of Los
I don't
Angeles.
recall the exact memo, but I am aware of one that touches that topic.
You have that manual. Let me see if I. Who is Daryl Gates? I'm not from around here.
Daryl Gates is the previous police chief.
He was a police chief here for a long time, wasn't he?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, in your 8 years at SID, has there ever been any conflict between criminalists who go to investigate the scenes and the detectives who are in charge of the scenes in terms of proper procedures for collecting evidence?
Irrelevant.
Overruled.
It's not really irrelevant.
I've been
It's
with
kinda relevant.
SID for 10 years,
I'm sorry.
and I am not aware of conflicts as you have stated.
In your 10 years at SID, you've never had a disagreement with the detective at a crime scene as to how evidence should be gathered?
That's irrelevant, Your Honor.
Overruled.
In my experience?
Yeah.
In my experience, I will make my suggestions.
Excuse me, Mr. Scheck, you're gonna have to stand someplace where you don't block the jury's view.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
In my experience, I will make my suggestions to the detective, and I have always had the detectives cooperate with my suggestions.
Well, that didn't happen in this case, did it?
How do you mean?
Well, you made a suggestion to Detective Van Adder that you were going to need more help, and he didn't take it.
Sustain.
Maybe it's easier. Give me a minute, Your Honor. I think it's
Certainly.
easier to find it in my book.
All right. Well, he's taking a minute. We will pause here for a minute. Just to burn through these here real quick. Honestly, I'm not surprised OJ was acquitted. This attorney is next level. I think OJ did it, but even I'm angry at the mishandling of the scene. And that's the thing. Again, for those of you that watched this from the beginning, you know that we're not here to change anybody's mind. I just wanted you to see F. Lee Bailey and BARRY SCHECK doing these cross-examinations. We'll watch some other stuff too after we finish these, but I wanted you to see these two because F. Lee Bailey is literally the GOAT. And BARRY SCHECK's cross-examination, as I just mentioned earlier, is widely considered to be one of the best cross-examinations of all time. All joking aside, legal analysts, legal experts, and a lot of lawyers will say this is one of the greatest cross-examinations in the history of cross-examinations. Just in the way it was executed and the evidence that it elicited from criminologist Dennis Fung. So yeah, that's what we're doing, just to show you how the idea of reasonable doubt can be placed in the minds of jurors. And Fubar Temp says reasonable doubt. Yeah. And definitely not Brandon. How many days or hours would this case have taken in Borowski's court? Well, we've heard about the Bronco a million times. The fish is more deadly. Move on. Yeah, I'll have like the fish. You have the fish for lunch. And I hope none of you die on the stand. Judge Borowski is awesome. We like Borowski. Borowski. All right. Back to it.
I'll show you that document. Have you ever seen that document before?
Yes, exactly. This guy. Because he's going page by page through the manual and talking. It's easier that way. Because they don't have video technology back then.
Yes.
And that's a document concerning the relative responsibilities of the investigators and the criminalists.
Yes.
All right. And
Well, this was 28 years ago now.
it indicates that the investigators are supposed to adhere to the criminalist's advice.
I don't think it's proper for counsel to read the document.
Sustain.
Is it your understanding that investigators are supposed to adhere to the criminalist's
John,
advice and
take it
direction
easy.
relating to
Stick
the
around.
gathering of evidence?
Specifically with relating to the gathering of evidence?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And you're familiar with the Los Angeles Department Police Manual, are you not?
I haven't committed it to memory.
Are you familiar with any requirement that it is the responsibility of people from SID to instruct all officers in the department regarding current methods of collecting, marking, and preserving physical evidence?
I don't know what section you're reading that from.
Yes, but does that sound to you like your responsibility? Your understanding of what your responsibility is?
It's not relevant.
Oh, you can answer the question.
I like that. It's not relevant that he knows what his
Yes.
duty is.
Now, you were saying to us that you didn't think it was necessary to put up a yellow tape to protect the Bronco in the morning
Yes.
because you didn't think that there were a lot of people on the street in the morning.
Yes.
Well, didn't you anticipate that later in the day there would be people going to that scene?
Yes.
I mean, you knew at this point that one of the victims in this case was the former wife of Mr. Simpson.
Vegas is
Sustain.
At 7:15, when you arrived at Rockingham, you knew that one of the victims in this case was Mr. Simpson's ex-wife.
No.
Did you know that you were at Mr. Simpson's house?
I knew that was his residence.
Did you know that Detective Van Adder regarded Mr. Simpson as a suspect?
I don't recall if he relayed that to me or not.
He might have.
He might have.
And is it your testimony that you did not anticipate that as the day went on, that people would be going to that Rockingham residence and would be around that scene?
I anticipated that the Bronco would have been towed away and put into impound.
You were at Rockingham from around 7:15 or 7:20?
7:10.
7:10 in the morning until you left at what time? Around 10:15? 10 o'clock?
I left Rockingham at approximately 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So you're there 2 hours and 50 minutes. I think I've got that one right.
Yeah. Lawyer math.
2 hours and 50 minutes, yes.
And during that 2 hours and 50 minutes, were more people arriving at the scene and watching what was going on?
No.
In those 3 hours, when you left, there was no yellow tape on that, surrounding that Bronco, right?
That's correct.
And didn't it occur to you that that was not a sound procedure as you left Rockingham?
2 officers were in charge of protecting that evidence, and yellow tape is not it's not as good a protection as an actual officer.
Isn't the best possible protection the standard protection to have yellow tapes and officers?
Gotcha. Gotcha, mate.
That is one method.
Isn't it true that, withdrawn, was it your decision as to whether or not a yellow tape should be put around that Bronco?
No.
Well, aren't you the person that's supposed to essentially be calling the shots with respect to how evidence is gathered?
With respect to how evidence is gathered, yes.
Well, isn't the protection of important items of evidence within that province, the gathering of evidence, protecting it with yellow tape?
That, in my opinion, that is under the purview of the officer in charge of the scene.
So that's not your decision, that's the officer's decision.
Yes.
And that's why you didn't question it? Because it was their decision?
If I thought it was necessary, I would have suggested it to him.
You didn't think it was necessary?
Not at that time.
You don't think it was a mistake? Well, at what time? At what
The
time would it have been appropriate to put yellow tape around that Bronco?
When there were more people around, then would have been more preferable.
When you left, did you make the suggestion to any officers at the scene, you know, guys, maybe you should put some yellow tape around that Bronco soon?
Assume facts, not an evidence.
Did you? I'm asking, did you?
Guys,
Sorry?
guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you, when you left, God, that's right. Did you, when you left, tell any male or female officers at the scene that perhaps it was a good idea to put some yellow tape around that Bronco?
I did not state that, no.
Wasn't that a mistake?
I don't know if it was a mistake or not.
At 7:50, after your conversation with Detective Van Adder, you spoke to Greg Matheson, did you not?
Yes,
Greg Matheson is a supervisor at SID.
yes,
And you had, at that time, did you express concern to him that you had 2 crime scenes?
yes,
Did you express concern to him that the victims at Bundy, to the best of your knowledge, had been there since the early morning hours, and you were now talking to him at 7:50 in the morning?
I did speak to him regarding the circumstances of as I knew them. I don't recall the exact conversation, though.
Did you express to him a concern that the criminalists may not get to the Bundy crime scene before the coroners?
I don't think I expressed that to him, no.
Did you express to him a concern about using an entry-level person who was just starting out to do the work in this case?
I told him who was with me.
Did you tell him anything about the level of experience of Miss Mazzola?
I don't think I had to.
And that's because you thought he had knowledge of Miss Mazzola's experience level.
Yes,
Did you discuss with him the fact that you had suggested to Detective Van Adder that more help was needed?
I don't know if I discussed that with him or not.
Did you say to him,
I'll make a objection that assumes fact, not an evidence, motion to strike the witness's testimony.
Misstates testimony.
did you,
But the answer was such that the answer will stand.
did you suggest to Greg Matheson that more help was needed?
I don't know if I said that or not. I don't think I did.
Did he ask you if you needed more help?
Okay.
He may have.
And did you say no?
At the time, I didn't think I did.
Now,
No more punishment.
maybe we could turn now to the evidence that you collected at Rockingham for a minute. You indicated that there were a number of red blood drops. Is that correct? That you observed?
Yes.
Now, did you, in terms of how you and Ms. Mazzola approached this, did you perform any what's known as phenolphthalein tests on those blood drops?
Yes.
I'll object based upon the earlier rulings.
Oh, well, we'll see.
Did you?
Yes,
And was that one of the first things you did?
it was one of the things we did.
All right. Then in terms of approaching these red stains, there's one that I think is item number 1, the one on the door. Is that correct?
Yes,
And before you swatched that stain, you did a presumptive test on it?
yes,
All right. And before you took a picture of that stain, you did a presumptive test on it?
I took a picture. I'm not sure which order that occurred in.
Well, with respect to the next, there's item number 4, correct? That's a red stain that you found.
Yes,
All right. Did you first go out and measure that before you took a picture of it? Measure its location?
I'm not sure if the picture was taken first or the measurement was taken first.
Did you do the presumptive test on number 4 before you took the picture?
Best of my recollection, yes.
All right. And you did that with item number 5 as well? First the presumptive test and then the picture?
I believe so.
And item number 6, I believe?
Yes,
And item number 7?
to the best of my recollection.
And item number 8?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
And incidentally, on the, when you went to Bundy and you and Ms. Mazzola were dealing with items 47, 48, 49, 50, and 52, did you follow essentially the same process?
Essentially, yes.
So you did the presumptive tests on those items first and then the pictures were taken?
I don't know the exact,
Could have happened that way.
yes.
Now, in terms of these red stains that you found, would you agree that the pattern of red stains that you found was leading from the residence to the Bronco or the Bronco to the front door of the residence?
Yes,
And there is, why don't we try using this, one of these diagrams first. Let me start with, one of the prosecution's boards, if I might.
Certainly. All right, Mr. Scheck, this is People's Exhibit, which,
Yes, it's People's Exhibit.
This is a good thing about court TV. We can see the
Thank you.
evidence.
Proceed.
We couldn't do that on the YouTube videos. While we have a moment of silence here, Mortimer Duke says, sounds innocent to me. And Flux not doing so well today. Home with a migraine mostly. You would think I'd hate the goat, but it still makes me die laughing every time. Also being home, pants or prison. Do you have the baby voice on? No, not anymore. Just being entertaining. And Malcolm Wilhelm. What's even more infuriating to me is that I don't think all of this incompetence was malicious, which means that these people are generally terrible at their jobs. Or you get complacent.
Sorry for the
And
delay.
you don't think they're going to be able to
Mr.
afford
Funk, could you
$6
step
million
down here with me for
lawyers
1 minute?
to question you.
Now, you found item number 4, a red stain, somewhere just
Counsel, in a second, 'cause-
All right.
Fainting goats are super cute, but they don't make for good soundboards. They just fall over.
Much better. Thank you, Mr. Douglas.
Now you found
Yeah, better
drop
soon,
number
Flux.
4 on Rockingham. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. And you measured that to be, I guess, 83 9 inches south of the south curb, 2 feet west of the south curb.
Yes,
Approximately where I'm pointing here on the diagram. Is that correct?
approximately here.
And then you found a red stain that you identified as number 5. Could you point approximately to where that is on the diagram? If it helps it, you.
Referring to a sketch.
All right. In fact, is it this sketch that I have right here?
Yes.
Okay, that's the sketch that you filled out at the time that you this was filled out at the time it was recovered, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if you want to come over, you can look at my sketch. I'll just hold it out for you. Okay, so approximately here, that's in front of the gate, right?
Yes.
All right. Then you found drop number 6. Could you show us where that is? Which is, okay. Now, approximately. Now, would you not agree that there were about 4 or 5 feet between drops number 4 and 5?
Approximately.
All right. And if one were to start on a line to the place that I'm pointing here, what would you describe that in terms of the gate? What direction would you describe that as being on this diagram? The northwest side of the gate?
This is northwest. I don't know.
Northwest as it's depicted on this diagram, I guess.
And you're referring to the fence or the gate?
Just a gate
The gate
on this
itself?
line, yeah. If one were to basically.
Right here would be the north end of the gate.
Okay, from the north end of the gate, if one were to walk in a line to the area where there's the garage is depicted, okay? See what I'm saying?
You're saying from here to here?
No, from here to the pathway.
From here to here.
That's right. If you were to draw a line, right, walk on a line from that entryway to the gate directly to the pathway, okay? How many feet would you estimate that roughly to be?
I don't recall the dimensions. I'd have to see something.
Have Detective Van Adder ever discussed a theory with you that Mr. Simpson came home in this case and opened the gate, all right, and then walked along the south pathway to the area where the glove was recovered?
No, it's irrelevant, and it's also hearsay.
Sustain.
Well, just going on a line, all right, from where you found drop number 6, okay, to the south pathway, right?
Yes?
You didn't find, that's about, how many feet would you estimate?
I told you I couldn't give you an estimate.
Well, the distance from the gate to where the glove was recovered was approximately 250 feet.
From the gate to the glove?
Yeah.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Are you
All right.
testifying, Mr. Scheck?
I asked him that question.
He said, I'll have to take what you say.
Tell you what, let's try it this way. I'd like to mark this document as defense next in order.
1072.
Have you seen this document before, Mr. Fung?
Yes, I have.
And what is it?
This is a sketch. No, it's a surveyor's drawing of the Rockingham residence.
Right. And that gives distances with respect to how far it is from Rockingham Avenue to the garage and the guest house areas.
Yes, it does.
And that was drawn by a surveyor. You are aware of this.
Yes.
And as far as you're concerned, it's accurate.
Irrelevant to what this witness is concerned with.
Sustained.
Does this person work with you at SID?
Not anymore.
Did at the time you did this?
The day of the trial? I don't
And
know. Like a million?
you're aware that
Like
this
day
was
1
being
million?
prepared?
I don't know.
It's Vegas to time.
Oh,
That it was being, that
Yes.
eventually it would be prepared?
Yes.
It's also irrelevant. I make motion to strike.
overruled.
It's part of the normal procedures at SID to, in some cases, to have such a surveyor come out and measure the scene.
In some cases, yes.
And in this case, that was done.
Yes.
And it's done in the regular course of business at SID when appropriate.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to strike. I don't think there's any foundation, personal knowledge.
Overruled.
Right? And in appropriate cases, it's in the regular course of business at SID, these kinds of surveyors' diagrams are prepared.
Yes.
And the person that prepares it, to your knowledge, has an obligation to make those measurements accurately.
Irrelevant.
Overruled.
What?
To the best of his ability, yes.
All right, we'll
It's
offer this
irrelevant
diagram and ask
to whether or
to
not
put on
the measurements are accurate?
Your Honor,
Do the measurements on that appear to be accurate?
Please, period.
All right. Proceed.
Oh, you will see, Ohio Pigeon, very soon.
Okay. Now, looking at that, wouldn't you agree that the distance between the gate and where the glove was found is approximately 250 feet?
Your Honor, I object as it calls for speculation. The witness can only testify what he sees.
Sustained.
You took measurements, did you not, Mr. Fung, on June 13th?
Yes, I do.
All right. And with the, let me ask you, in terms of this diagram over here, this is I'm pointing now, and I'm now referring to people's 169. This is the garage,
Yes.
all right? And this area here, where you tell me, where is the beginning of the guest house? It's depicted in this diagram. Would it be the area I'm pointing right here?
No personal knowledge.
Overruled.
I don't know what part is the guest house.
Well, looking at the diagram on the Elmo, okay? You see a box there that indicates guest rooms.
Your Honor, it's irrelevant what he sees in regard to the guest rooms.
Overruled.
Yes, I do.
All right, can you locate that for us on People's 169?
169 for 169.
Appears to be this area here.
Where does it start? The area designated guest rooms, would that begin at the, what is marked on People's 169 as the area that says office?
This diagram appears somewhat different from the diagram up on the board.
In what respect?
There is no indentation in this area here.
All right, let the record reflect that the witness is indicating that there is an indentation between I guess the horizontal area between what is the office and the area where there's a call out for number 14. Is that correct?
Yes. Your Honor, for the record, I believe he indicated that there wasn't an indentation.
Yes.
There wasn't an indentation on 169, but there is one on the defense exhibit that you see projected on the Elmo,
Yes.
which is accurate.
I would have to refer to photographs or visit the scene again. I don't recall.
All right. But other than that indentation, I'm just trying to get you to tell us if where the area that is indicated as guest rooms on the diagram on the Elmo is in, on People's 169.
All right, well, he's, oh, never mind. I have no son says, holy shit, a stick and a finger. Hey, this is high tech, man. And yeah, I just don't know, as I said.
This would be very rough.
Very rough is okay.
Approximately in this area here.
Indicating the area by what's marked as office. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
On 169.
On 169. Now, you and Ms. Mazzola worked together to make the measurements on June 13th.
Yes.
And you knew at that time that others would later be relying on your measurements as to where various pieces of evidence were found.
Yes.
All right.
Ooh, tell us your
And,
measurements, Dennis.
You knew that would be important later if people were to make analyses, subsequent analyses of the scene.
Could become a factor, yes.
That's why all of this questions about how far from point A to point B to point C, point A to point C, that's why all of this is relevant. Because somebody is going to be looking at this and they're going to be analyzing that. And he wants to show that he's not really sure whether those measurements are correct or not. And that calls into question any analysis that's done on a distance base. Because even the guy that took the measurements isn't quite sure, is kind of what he's getting at here.
Just like at Bundy, you made measurements as to where the footprints were.
Yes.
And you knew that those measurements would be relied upon later for all kinds of analysis.
Possibly, yes.
Now, on June 13th, you measured the glove as being located 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house. Now, could you show us where the west wall of the guest house is?
Yes.
And this is a thing. Like I said, I've only done this is back in law school when in Utah, if you're a third year law student, you can work for the public defender's office or the what do you call it? The Indigent Law Center for Civil Claims, and you can actually try small cases under the supervision of a licensed lawyer. And I did like 3 or 4 cases, and in at least 2 of those cases, the police could not identify north on a map that they made. So this policeman, this police and stuff not knowing directions is just as real as lawyers not being able to do math. It's like north. Yeah, it's a thing. Just saying. While we've got this paused here, Isaac Bruce's wholesome gabagool art. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, family of 8 shot dead in a home in Enoch, Utah. Yeah, that just happened earlier today. Seems kind of ugly. Yeah, it's just it's a family, 5 children. Just icky. Don't know much about it yet. We'll I definitely be mentioning things when there's more to report. But yeah, it's kind of a bad sitch. Yeah.
Yes.
And Enoch, Utah is just a tiny little town down south.
I believe my description of the location was 118 feet east of the west wall.
I want to
Doesn't
say about a
your
year.
evidence collection sheet read the glove under location of item 118 feet east of the west wall guest house, 1 foot 4 inches south of the south wall? Isn't that what you wrote?
Hey, it was my pleasure, meet.
That is what Criminalist Mazzola wrote, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
well, 100, looking at the diagram on the elbow, 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, where would that be on the diagram in the elbow?
That is not the point of reference that is referred to.
I didn't ask you that question. Where would that be?
Then it's irrelevant.
Mr. Fung, objection, that move to strike his answer as being not responsive. My question, Mr. Fung, is where, looking at the diagram on the Elmo, would a location 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, 1 foot 4 inches south of the south wall be?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Mr. Fung, measurement here is wrong, isn't it?
As you are interpreting it, it is wrong, but from where I know the point of reference is, the measurement is correct.
Well, let's put it this
Very
way.
close to where it was.
Is it your testimony that the entry here of 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, 1 foot 4 inches south of the south wall, that entry as written is an incorrect entry?
That's incorrect.
There
Your
was no-
statement is incorrect.
Excuse me, Mr. Fung. I object. There was no testimony to that effect. Motion to strike.
Overruled. Can't will stand.
Can you answer that question?
Your interpretation of that entry is incorrect.
Well, the entry itself, if one were to measure 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, that would be a location that is far beyond this air conditioner, all the way somewhere into the planting area out back,
I
right?
object. That's irrelevant.
Sustained.
Well, if one were to call the guest house, as I think you previously did, this office area, is that correct? It's depicted on People's 169?
Counsel, I've sustained 4 irrelevancy objections in a row as to that question.
Are you saying that Ms. Mazzola, when she made an entry here, was incorrect?
I am not saying that.
You're saying that, well, what was the guest house then?
The guest house is the approximate location or area to locate where the glove was.
All right, so you're saying 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, that was your reference point.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
What I am saying is the guest house in that entry depicts the general location of where the glove was. The 818 feet east of the west wall is from this point here.
So you're saying 118 feet east of the west wall, and then guest house that follows it, that is not the west wall of the guest house you're referring to?
He's misreading the.
Sustained. Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Could we put up on the Elmo the entry that we're talking about, just so everybody can see it? Okay, you see where it says 118 feet east of the west wall?
Wait a minute. He's not reading it correctly. It doesn't say of.
I think that the document speaks for itself. You see the entry where it says location of item?
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, doesn't it read across the top line 118 feet east of the west wall guest house. 1 foot 4 inches south of south wall.
It does state that.
All right. So what you're telling us now is that the west wall you were referring to was not the west wall of the guest house?
The west wall I'm referring to is this wall here.
All right. So you're saying that the west
wall, indicating the wall of the garage on People's 160.
That's what I was about to, thank you, Your Honor. I was about to indicate that. So
Settle down,
the
Ito.
west
Let me do the
wall that
question.
you actually referring to in that entry was the west wall of the garage, not the guest house.
Yes.
And if one were to read just literally what it says there, 118 feet east of the west wall of the guest house, and start measuring from the guest house, that would be an incorrect entry. An incorrect location for where the glove was found.
Your Honor, that's irrelevant.
Oh, well,
That's why there are notes, and that's why I prepared a proper report.
I understand, but that's, if one were to literally read it, that would be an incorrect identification
Your
of the
Honor,
measurement.
that's irrelevant.
oh, well, he can answer the question. He's already
That would be an incorrect interpretation of what is there.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, let's pull a little time out here and talk about a couple things. Okay, first we just did that one. Maddie Graham asks, Vices, how well do you know Beaver, Utah? Go through Beaver quite a bit. If you're going anywhere in southern Utah, you have to drive through the little town of Beaver, Utah. It's just a tiny little thing on I-70. Go through Utah, head towards Vegas. You're going through Beaver. As a matter of fact, last summer I had lunch there. I'm coming back from Vegas. Why do you ask? Why do you ask about Beaver, Utah? That's a curious question to ask. There's also a place called Beaver Dam that's right up near my family homestead. So yeah, I'm whatevs. And you also asked, have you met Gene and Bonnie Wyman? Who are Gene and Bonnie Wyman? I have no clue who those people are. So the answer is no, I have not. At least not that I'm aware of. Yes, Michelle, I had lunch in Beaver. I did. Michelle asked Elmo. Yeah, for some reason they're calling the overhead projector Elmo. Maybe it was like it's got to be an abbreviation of some sort or an acronym of something. But yeah, they're referring to the overhead projector, I believe. And Pixelated Purpose, congratulations on being the newest member of the Clean and Sober crew, because everybody wants to be Legal Vice's member. Is it too obvious that the lawyer is trying to get the witness to admit something? No, it is perfectly obvious. And that's the point. He probably had something prepared in case the witness affirmed something, which we're seeing right now. Because this is one of these things where he did the gotcha. They went over this 118 feet east thing. He wouldn't admit to it. He wouldn't say it. So finally he had to bring up the document that says 118 feet east. And now he's saying that measurement is incorrect, isn't it? You have an incorrect measurement in an official note. So there you go. Maddie Graham says they own a bed and breakfast in Beaver, and my great aunt and uncle and owners of Wyman Laboratories, which did the calculations for the defense in this trial. Intriguing. I see. That's cool. All right. So yes, he's trying to get them. Yes, Elmo is the brand name of the projector. That's kind of what I was thinking. All righty. So that's what he's trying to do. He's saying, okay, you have in your notes an incorrect measurement. So basically you suck at your job. And again, he's not admitted. They had to force this out of him. And it kind of looks bad, I think, for the jury, that they're going to have it in their head that it took a good 10 minutes to get that answer through multiple objections of relevance, through a million different questions. And finally, it took Fung going, all right, let's look at the damn notes. Would you read the notes and tell me whether it says that or not? And it says it. So now the jury's going to be pissed off that Fung wasted their time, more time than necessary, by trying to avoid the question. That's my feeling.
One few more questions while we're here. Now, if one goes on a line from where you last found drop number 6, okay, along the south wall,
this is the kicker here.
all right, this is a driveway.
Counsel, is there a wall there?
Well, it's actually shrubbery, thank you. Along this shrubbery, on a line,
A
to
shrubbery.
the south walkway, okay, that's a driveway area.
Yes, it is.
Right. On that line, you found no red stains. Right?
From approximately this point to this point, I found no red stains in this lower.
No red stains in this area, correct?
That's correct.
And for the record, perhaps,
All right, that's the area from the driveway to where the pink ends on Peoples 169.
well, for the record, it was from the Y in the word driveway over to the right hand, on this exhibit, the lower right-hand corner of where it's the pink ends. And then I think he also pointed to a point that's just above the Y in what would be sort of a triangle.
Is that
Yes.
Mr. Goldberg saying correct? All right. Now, there's now an area that's in yellow, okay?
Yes.
Now, as one walks down in the area that's yellow on Peoples 169, there's about 4 steps,
That's my recollection, yes.
all right? And then there's a cement walkway area,
Yes.
all right? And on June 13th, there were much fewer leaves in that cement walkway area than there was in the narrow walkway area that I'm pointing to in the area where the glove was recovered, right?
I don't recall exactly which had more leaves. I do recall there was areas that had a lot of leaves and other areas that had less leaves, but I didn't make a note of it.
Well, in terms of the, there are more trees overhanging the area.
Okay, you're all wondering where this is going. Let me give you a little bit of a preview here, but first plow through these because this is all relevant here. First of all, Michelle asks how many days less would this have been if Fung had answered questions first time asked? Not very much shorter because Barry was loaded with questions. Did the jury ever do a walkthrough of the crime scene? Yes, they took a field trip to the house, to the scene. And Pretty Mama Bear says Barry's intentionally misinterpreting the document, and that means Fung screwed up. He's not misinterpreting the document. They were saying he did, and he got tired of that. That's kind of sort of why he went to, all right, let's look at the notes. Right here, it says 118 feet or whatever, 100, whatever the measurement was. I think it was 118 feet. So he showed them on there. And where there's all going with all of this is there was the blood drops over here, and then there was another 180 something feet before there was another blood drop where the gloves are. So that's kind of where he's getting at.
That I'm pointing to now that starts with, what would you call this point? How do you want to describe it? What demarcation do you want to use? This point I'm over here that's just to the left of the call-out box, that's 14. That's where the electrical equipment is, electrical door.
Yeah, there's some kind of.
From the electrical door box, this is a narrow area, correct?
Yes, it is.
There's more trees overhanging that area.
To the best of my recollection.
And there were
Now, if you recall back to the Mark Furman testimony, when he said that he went down this narrow place where he found the glove. So he had his little flashlight and he was walking in this very narrow space between the shrubs and the building, going through cobwebs somehow that should not have been there if someone had walked down there before him. But he said he walked through cobwebs. He got right down there right here and found the glove.
were more leaves there, weren't there, on June 13th than there was from the cement area that starts with the garage and goes up to the point where the electrical box is?
I can't recall the amount of leaves.
And you found no red stains from the point where the yellow begins on the garage on Peoples 169 to the point where you found the glove.
That's correct.
All right? None. No red stains
On the pathway itself?
on the pathway itself.
That's correct.
And in the area of the air conditioner, there's a wall.
There is a wall, yes.
And it's made of a stucco type material.
Yes.
All right, and that stucco type material is the kind of thing where if you brush against it with clothing, if one brushes against it with clothing, threads or fibers can get stuck to it.
That's a possibility.
Or you can get an abrasion if one were to bang up against it with bare skin. That kind of stucco can cause an abrasion on one's hand.
Yes, it can.
Or will.
Yes, it can.
Now, you found no hair or fiber on the stucco wall area near the air conditioner on June 13th.
That's correct.
You examined the fence in the area where the glove was recovered.
Yes, I did.
You found no fibers on that fence, no hair or fibers on that fence.
I did not see any.
You did not see any.
That's correct.
And were you considering the possibility that somebody might have gone over that fence?
Especially if you're going through Beaver.
Yes.
And were you considering the fact that somebody might have banged into that wall? That stucco wall.
I did look at the wall, yes.
So you were looking at that carefully because the detectives were instructing you to do so.
It's a compound question.
Well, it actually calls for speculation.
Were you looking at that area?
Ito,
Were
that's not
you
the objection that
instructed
was made.
by the detectives to examine that area carefully?
Yes.
And you found no fibers on that stucco wall?
That's correct.
I think we're finished with this time.
All right.
All right, move this high-tech exhibit out of the way. Now, did y'all see that? That's the funny thing. Back there, Dennis couldn't find north on the map. Recall that a second ago?
All right.
Yeah, remember he couldn't find north on the map? There, it's marked right there on the map. And what a coincidence. North is up where it usually is on a map. The blonde is the court reporter. All right, I believe this is the lunchtime break here. I believe so.
Do you know whether or not
yet. He's just done with the...
there is an automatic sprinkler system at the Simpson residence?
I don't know if there is or not.
So you wouldn't know whether or not it was dew on the lawn or water from the sprinkler system?
That's correct.
Yes, we do. The court reporter. Yeah, he gave one to the prosecution. Instead of overruling the incorrect objection, he told them what the correct one was.
Now, you indicated on direct examination that you were the person that went back and recovered the glove, item number 9.
Yes.
And you were the person that was doing all this investigating on the walkway leading up to item number 9.
Overruled.
Investigation in what sense?
Well, you were looking for red stains, you were looking for fibers, you were looking for clues along the south walkway leading up to the glove.
Yes.
And when you went to do this investigation, who accompanied you?
Different people accompanied me at different times.
All right, how many times did you go there?
Approximately four that I can remember.
Who was there the first time you went?
The first time was with the walkthrough, and I don't recall whether it was Detective Furman and Detective Van Adder who were both at that walkthrough at that time, or just Detective Van Adder, or just Detective Furman. But one of the detectives did escort me back there on my walkthrough.
And this was about how long after you got to the scene?
Maybe 5 minutes into the scene.
And was Miss Mazzola with you?
I don't recall if she was with me or not.
All right, how long after that did you then go back and look at that area again, walking towards the glove?
Till the next time I went to
Yeah.
that area? I don't have a,
About how many minutes?
I couldn't give you a good estimation.
Who went with you?
The next time was with Miss Mazzola,
Just the two of you.
to the best of my recollection.
And you were
it's like a little
carefully
date.
walking down that path looking for evidence.
Yes,
And at that time, were you taking measurements?
yes.
All right.
Probably had a ton of.
And you had not, how close did you get to the glove?
Within feet of it,
How many?
1 or 2 or 3.
And had you noticed the blue object on the other side of the fence that you've identified as item number 10?
I may have seen it, but I didn't identify it as being relevant evidence.
And tell us about the third time you went.
The third time I went was with the photographer.
And who was that, Mr. Rokar?
I believe so.
And when he was walking down that path, did he bang into the air conditioner?
No,
You don't recall that?
no, I don't.
All right. And that was Mr. Rokar went with you and you directed him to take a photograph.
I believe so.
And that's part of your job. You're supposed to direct the forensic photography.
Yes.
And then the fourth time you went there, you went with whom?
To the best of my recollection, it was myself. I went by myself, and Detective Furman went on the other side of the fence.
So, in other words, you were walking down the south walkway and Detective Furman was walking on the other side of the fence.
That's how I remember it.
Two of you were walking parallel?
Well, we ended up at this opposite ends of the fence, yes.
And then it was Detective Furman that pointed at this blue object on the other side of the fence?
I think he had indicated to me that there was one before that point, and he went over to, at that point, to help me collect it so I wouldn't have to walk all the way around.
Well, wait a second. You're the criminalist, right?
Yes,
And you're saying that Detective Furman volunteered and he rushed down that south walkway. He walked down that south walkway, right?
OJ
I don't know if he
smiling.
rushed or walked.
All right. He was the fellow that went down there and he picked up the evidence.
At my request.
What about Miss Mazzola? You couldn't use her?
To the best of my recollection, Miss Mazzola was picking up the blood evidence 7, or the red stains 7 and 8 at that time.
Well, did you perform any measurements at that point on the that blue item, that blue plastic item?
Yes,
Well, did you measure it? How did you do that? Did it with Detective Furman?
the plastic container was almost parallel to the glove, so I made an estimate as to its location.
And you didn't go around the fence to take a look at anything around that plastic container. You left that to Detective Furman.
Yes, I did.
But it's your job, I guess. Well, isn't it your job as the criminalist to be collecting the evidence? You're the one in charge of gathering the evidence?
I'm in charge of gathering evidence.
And did Detective Furman wear any rubber gloves when he was picking up that blue plastic bag?
I believe he used the scoop method that I also use sometimes.
Well, you're saying he didn't have gloves?
I'm saying he used a scoop method.
Well, in using the scoop method, do you know if he had gloves?
I don't know if he had gloves. I don't think he did.
Gotcha,
Do you
bitch.
know one way or the other?
No, I don't. I don't think he did, though.
Well, wait a second. If you don't know one way or the other,
I'm not sure.
you don't have an independent recollection of whether he had gloves or not. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
All right.
Correct.
I think it's a good time to break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. See you back here at 1:30. Mr. Fung, you may step down. You're ordered to be here 1:30.
Well, let's take a little breather. That's the end of the first session, the morning session of the first day of 8.5 days of cross-examination. Yeah, that's coming far in the future, Crystal. Far in the future. Hey, Flux, I hope you get feeling better pretty quick. Migraines suck from what I hear. Adriana, bringing the baldo. Yeah, Fung's feeling like he's getting baldoed now, and little does he know it's just getting started. Yeah, so they go the dumbest jury ever. No, I disagree. It's I think they got it right. I think the jury got it right in finding him not guilty. Through Bailey's cross-examination of Mark Furman, through Scheck's dismantling of Barry Scheck here, I think there's more than enough reasonable doubt to go around. And like we were saying earlier, he probably did it. And as we've said from the beginning, my personal theory is I don't think he actually committed the murders himself. Was he there? I think there's a good chance he was there watching. Just my feeling. But I think there's reasonable doubt just because of what you're seeing here. And the jury's going to go, they're going to, the scientific portion of this, the scientific evidence portion of this trial was so poorly handled by the prosecution. DNA evidence is just starting to come to be a thing at this point. That's why Marcia Clark in the opening statements, the only real comparison she had to use for DNA sampling and testing was Jurassic Park, like the original, because it had just come out. So DNA evidence still there. And the prosecution spent, I believe it was two weeks or 2.5 weeks just explaining in really horrific scientific details DNA evidence, DNA testing, and what the results mean, and bored the bejesus out of the jury to the point where I'm sure they checked out. I was watching it, and I remember thinking, just come on. Ugh. It was poorly presented, and the jurors aren't going to remember any of that scientific evidence. They're going to remember Mark Furman lying. They're going to remember the N-bombs. They're going to remember him saying that he would bring black guys down alleys and beat them with sticks just to vent stress. He's going to remember, they're going to remember those tapes. They're going to remember everything that Fung did wrong here. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're showing how reasonable doubt can be placed in the minds of jurors through amazing lawyering. Talking about the stenographer or court reporter, as we call them in the U.S., I call her the writing things down lady, and that makes Dennis Fung.
That's why you're the judge and I'm the law talking guy.
The lawyer.
Barry Scheck.
Right.
Yeah, Barry Scheck, not Dennis Fung. Ruined that one. Crap. Oh well. Is there really only 63 likes? Funny you should mention that. There's 371 likes currently and 354 concurrent viewers. So while we're here, that's a great number, but some of you have left, new people have come. And so let me just mention this again. Hit the like button and take the poll. How are we doing on the poll here? Midstream, we'll probably go for another 30 minutes or so here. This has been a very quick hour and a half so far. Here's the poll. After you hit the like button, make sure you hit the poll button here. I hit the like button ages ago because I was here first. Says 24. Ooh, this is really even. This is like a dead split. 24% of you said I hit the like button ages ago because I was here first. 24% of you said right now because you reminded me. And also 24% said like the way I want to hit Nancy Grace. And 28% said a bit late, but not as late as you. So, wow, we've got a three-way tie for second place. So, all right, hit the like button, take the poll, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you're new here and this is the first time you're watching this, welcome. This is what we do every Thursday. We go back and we review parts of the OJ Simpson trial. For the next several weeks, we're going to be watching Dennis Fung get murdered here on the stand. We also talk other trials. The Idaho thing is big now. We're going to be doing lots of that. And at the end of the month, we've got 3 trials coming up. We've got the Murdaugh guy who was in the middle of a bunch of drug and financial crime things. He's charged with like 90 civil cases. And he also is charged with shooting his wife to death with a rifle and blowing his son away with a shotgun. The Dumpster Brothers case is coming up, and the Sarah Boone suitcase murders are all scheduled for the last 2 weeks of this month into February. So there's we're going to be doing a lot of trial stuff at the end of the month. Legal Mindset, Andrew and I are going to be working out something where we both work with each other to do these trials on each other's stream. So we'll give you more information as we get towards the individual trials that are coming up. What's up, Yoda? Come on over here. Yeah, you're a good boy. So those are the things we do here, and we do pop culture and other stuff too when it becomes relevant and necessary, and just some chill streams with courts and whatnot. And tomorrow is Fuck It Friday. Do not miss F It Friday. Lots of money you throw at me. We have lots of drinks. We have an amazing array of guests lined up, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a great end. Danny On, our very own mod and our mod turned YouTuber, Danny On has just moments ago messaged me and says she will try to be on for an hour or so as well. So there we go. We have one more person to add to our already long list of peeps. So there we go. Let's get back into the afternoon session here. Like, subscribe, notify, memberships, join my member, do all of that. Let's get on with the show. Tell me I didn't shut that window. Oh, I didn't. All right. Let's bring up the window. Anybody have anything to say? Get it out of your system now. Omnipresent Waves, Jeff is my friend. Well, congratulations and thank you. You're my friend too. Banny on. That's kind of funny. Darth Hideous. See, you can't tell. See, just you can only hear. See, there's no video. There's no way of telling if that's a goat or a sheep. So, you're wrong. All right. Enough. There is no video, Valhalla, so be quiet. What do you know? There's no video. It's just a sound. There is no video. And besides, don't you dare tell my animal how he identifies. You respect his pronouns. All right? Don't get me started. Don't you tell my goat or how to identify. He's a goat. No question about it. Oh, good question, Lady Magdala. If pants are prison, is there a prison guard? You're weird. Exactly, Darth Hades. This is how Jeff gets to win. Right. All right, I'll shut up now. And we'll get on with this. Oh. So, go ahead. I dare someone to call my goat a sheep again. Damn it. All right. Here we go. Bring up the afternoon session. Here we go. Afternoon session, day 1, Dennis Fung being cross-examined. His name is OJ Simpson. I think you know his record. No, it's not a sheep. He identifies as a goat. You must respect his pronouns. See how I handled that? Let's go. Let's embiggen this and start your...
Again, Mr. Fung, good afternoon. You're reminded you were still under oath, sir. And Mr. Scheck, you may resume your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Good afternoon, Mr. Fung.
Morning.
Mr. Fung, when we left, you were telling us about Detective Furman collecting item number 10. I think you told us yesterday, did you not, that he transferred that, he handed that to you over the fence?
Yes.
All right. But your recollection now is not very clear on exactly whether he used the scoop method or gloves.
Sustain. Raise the question.
All right. I hate to interrupt this. We have some really unwoke people here that we have to chastise. Matthew Giannotti says, goat is actually a noun, not a pronoun. Hey, it's a neo-pronoun, Zim, Zer, all that kind of stuff. Or if you're Ollie London, Core and Ian or Co and Rian or whatever the fuck he has, yeah, it's a neo-pronoun. He identifies as goat, goat, and goat. So there. You gotta wake up. You gotta get woke. Neo-pronouns.
Gotcha, bitch.
Let's go.
Do you have a clear recollection as to whether or not Detective Furman had gloves?
No.
And do you have a clear recollection as to whether he used the scoop method?
No.
And is it your testimony that he picked this item up and he handed it to you over that fence? Is that how it happened? Or do you recall?
It was in a coin envelope, and he handed it to me over the fence.
So it was one of those little coin envelopes?
Yes.
And given the fact that it's a little coin envelope, would it not be difficult to be using the scoop method with the coin envelope?
Calls for speculation.
Sustain.
Well, ordinarily, would you use the scoop method with one of those small coin envelopes?
I've done it before.
It's fairly difficult, isn't it? As opposed to a large paper bag?
No.
No?
It is more difficult, but it's not a lot more difficult.
Okay, so it's more
Flair,
difficult.
A little bit,
You
yes.
just crossed the line with me. I'll let you have your goat
And this-
humor. Do not fucking say Pluto is not a planet. We have an issue. As I said, I don't ban anybody. You say Pluto's not a planet, I will ban your ass so fast.
Ask this photograph be marked as defendant's next in order.
1073.
1073.
All right, defense 1073.
I approach the witness.
You may.
It's frozen moist. No.
Mr. Fung, is this a photograph of item number 10 as you saw it on the morning of June 13th?
Yes.
May I put this on the Elmo, Your Honor?
No problem, Valhalla. Only about Pluto and planets. You just don't screw with Pluto.
Given the location of that
Yeah, me
item
too.
number 10, if one were
Seriously.
to use the scoop method there, you might get some leaves or debris into the coin envelope.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, don't you think that's likely given its location?
Not necessarily, no.
No? And to the best of your recollection, there are no leaves in that coin envelope, are there?
To the best of my recollection, yeah. There are
Acceptable
no leaves in
answer.
there.
Right.
As long
So,
as Pluto and planet are used together.
If Detective Furman were to have used gloves and picked that up and put it into the coin envelope, it would be less likely to have leaves in it, would you think?
It's irrelevant.
Calls for speculation.
Mr. Fung, let's move on to the Bundy crime scene. You arrived there about what time?
I arrived there at 10:15 in the morning.
And before you got there, did it come to your attention that a still photographer had already been on the scene and had taken pictures?
Yes,
And there was no video camera at the Bundy crime scene, was there?
there was a lot of news media with video cameras.
I understand. You've seen a number of these tapes, have you not, sir?
Yes,
You've reviewed them very carefully before you
I'm
came
clever.
to testify.
I've reviewed them
About how many times?
once, twice.
Once, twice, with the any members of the prosecution team?
Yes,
And who was that?
that was Mr. Goldberg.
Anyone else?
He's the only one I recall being there.
And how many times did you do that?
Once.
And about how many hours did it take you?
Took a while. I don't remember. Maybe 3 hours. I don't recall.
And you studied them carefully, did you not?
We looked at them.
And incidentally, before you came and testified on direct examination, did you undergo a number of preparation sessions?
Yes, I met with Mr. Goldberg
About
a
how
few
many?
times. More than 10.
More than 10.
Yes.
And about how long do you did each of these sessions take, if you recall?
They varied anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 or 4 or 5 hours.
And did you ever have a session where people were brought in to cross-examine you in preparation?
No.
Now, there are video cameras available at the Scientific Investigation Division, are there not?
Yes, there are.
And on occasion, these video cameras are used to take videotapes of crime scenes.
On occasion, yes.
Now, mind you, like in 1995, video cameras were like this big. They weren't the big ginormo ones if you had a good one. The old ones were still in use, but they were still pretty big to lug around.
And that is done at the request of the criminalist?
No, usually that's done at the request of a detective.
Sometimes at the request of the criminalist,
I have never had occasion to request one.
but sometimes detectives have.
Yes.
And if one takes a video camera to a crime scene, there are some advantages to using it.
Oh, zing! That was a good burn.
Oh, well, there may be.
And one of the advantages is that you can pan the entire scene in one continuous sweeping shot to see where the evidence lies.
That would be one advantage, yes.
And it cuts down on the selectivity that one gets when you take still photographs.
What do you mean by selectivity?
Well, when one chooses to take a photograph at a certain angle, a still photograph, one is making a selection about the angle at which the picture is taken.
Yes.
And
I'm joking.
ordinarily, when you direct the forensic photographers at a crime scene, you make your best judgment about what angles to take to illustrate the evidence well.
I will give photographers the instructions to take overalls of the crime scene, and then after that is done, that there are specific shots that I will direct him to take.
But an advantage of video is that when you take an overall of a crime scene with the video, one gets more than if you take a series of still shots.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
possible.
It's not possible. Of course it is, you dumbass.
May not be, not in all cases though.
Well, if done well with the video, wouldn't that ordinarily be true in your judgment?
If done well with photography, that's just as good.
You think it's just as good to do a series of still photographs as opposed to a video?
It's argumentative as well.
Do you know of, in your experience as a criminalist, whether other major metropolitan areas routinely use videotapes for crime scenes?
I've heard it mentioned that some people or some jurisdictions do use them on occasion. I don't know if they use them on a routine basis though.
Well, there was a video used in this case, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
But that video was a videotape taken at Rockingham.
Yes.
That was a videotape, or at least one purpose of it, was to take shots of the interior of Mr. Simpson's residence. Do you know if a video was taken at Rockingham on the afternoon of June 13th of the interior of Mr. Simpson's residence?
Yes.
And do you know if one of the purposes of that videotape was to protect the police department from civil liability?
Yes.
I believe that was the purpose of the video.
And but there was no video camera to record the Bundy crime scene, was there?
I did not observe one.
Now, when you arrived at Bundy, it was what time? 10:15?
Yes.
And you told us that you had heard, or you believed at that time that the victims were first discovered sometime in the early morning hours.
Yes.
So by the time you arrived at Bundy, it was something on the order of 10 hours, to your knowledge, from when the bodies were first found.
Something like that.
And isn't that, Mr. Fung, fairly late in the ordinary course of homicides investigations for criminalists to arrive at the crime scene?
I've arrived at crime scenes when the bodies are months old.
Well, that's because nobody found them for months, right?
Correct.
But when you get a homicide call, you told us that you try to get to the scene within an hour of the call.
That's our goal for our response time, yes.
And it's important to get the criminalists at the scene before the coroners.
I think we've asked this question.
I understand
about
that.
the fifth time.
I understand that, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm just foundational and leading into something else.
Well, let's get there.
It's preferable.
Now, you have observed photographs in your consideration of the evidence in this case that were taken before you arrived at the scene.
Could you repeat that?
Have you looked at photographs that were taken of the Bundy crime scene before you arrived?
Yes.
And you have considered those in your attempts to do crime scene reconstruction
Charles
in this
Manson. Oh, you guys crack me up.
Sustain.
All right. have you attempted during the course of your consideration of this matter to reconstruct the crime scene that you found at Bundy?
Sustained.
What is crime scene reconstruction? I think you talked about this yesterday.
Crime scene reconstruction is using the physical evidence at the scene to try to come up with a scenario as to what has happened.
All right. And in doing that, you did that in this case? You tried to do that in this case?
Only in a very limited fashion.
But you tried.
About 100.
In a limited fashion.
And you participated with the detectives in their efforts to do so.
Oral.
In a very limited fashion.
And other experts have come and discussed the crime scene as you found it in Bundy with you in their attempts to do reconstruction in this case.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe approach with the district attorney for one moment about photo.
Certainly. Do you need the reporter?
Yes, I think so.
Got to go talk about a photo.
Doesn't count unless the court reporter gets it.
As New Yorkers, we talk fast, we move fast.
Not fast
Not
enough.
like you.
Not fast enough, I know.
No.
I'm trying, Your Honor.
And ladies and gentlemen, please disregard any banter. All right, Mr. Schick.
I'd like to mark this photograph, defendants next in order, and show it to the stand.
You may. Counsel, any counsel who's questioning the witness and opposing counsel.
This
can
is an
approach the
Oliver
witness,
Siri v. Churchill.
Without leave of the court.
Thank you.
Delish.
Have you seen this photograph before?
No, I have not.
Have you seen any version of this photograph before, a close-up shot of that photograph?
This is the first time I've seen this photograph or any version of it.
Mr. Fung, have you ever observed a photograph of the glove and envelope at Bundy with a picture of somebody pointing at it?
Not to my recollection.
Chin up, Fung. You still got 8 days left. Yes. Oh, there are really only 63 likes. You already read that. There's now 428 because you guys were awesome. Damn it! Now I got to watch the entire OJ trial from part one.
Mr. Fung,
says Wheeler. Enjoy. We're only 17 parts in.
You recall testifying at the grand jury on June 22nd?
Yes.
All right. And you recall being asked some questions about the brown men's leather glove that you observed at the Bundy location.
Yes.
And you were shown some pictures of that.
Yes.
All right. And I'm at line 8, page 337. Question. Was one of those items a brown man's...
It's Fung.
377.
Here we go. Let's start quoting previous statements.
Question.
Stop.
Your Honor, I don't know whether the court has access to a transcript, but I would object to this as improper impeachment.
Forward sidebar with the report.
All right. Come on. Who's going to win? Is this proper impeachment or is this improper impeachment?
One other thing that maybe can avoid this problem. I'd ask that this photograph be marked defendants next in order.
Look at it. Look at the photo. After we get to the end of this trial, do you have another one in the pipeline? It's going to be months before we wrap this up, but no, not yet. We'll think of something. We'll do something else. We'll talk about it as we near that point. We could always rewatch
I've seen
Johnny
photographs
Depp.
like it, but I don't recall if I've seen that particular photograph.
Have you ever seen a photograph depicting the glove at Bundy that included a person pointing at it?
I don't recall.
All right.
All right, Mr. Fung, we're now back to the grand jury pages. We asked these questions.
All right, with the court order.
All right, now we're going to see who wins.
Thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Does he get to read?
Mr.
from the
Fung,
grand jury
why don't we
testimony?
try this with People's 55?
No, he doesn't get to read the grand jury testimony. Barry Scheck lost the objection.
Have you seen this photograph before?
Before today,
Yes.
I don't recall seeing that particular photograph. I do recognize the location, though.
Recognize the location as being the Bundy crime scene?
Yes.
And based on other photographs that you say you're familiar with, would it be your view that this is a photograph of Detective Furman pointing at the Bundy glove?
That would call for speculation, Your Honor.
Based on the other photographs he says he's aware of.
Overruled.
I can't make out if that's Detective Furman or not.
But you see it as some
They didn't
some
televise
individual
these
pointing
whole
at that glove,
trials.
right?
That's the problem.
Yes.
We need a televised
And
trial.
I take it just looking at the Bundy crime scene as it's depicted in this photograph, this is not in exactly the same form. This crime scene is not in exactly the same condition as when you first saw it on June 13th.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, you have permission for Mr. Harris to put this on the Elmo and
Okay, hold on just a second. We need to,
cut the feed.
Mr. Goldberg, do you want to warn any family members?
But we're trying to, he's going to focus in on a segment of this photograph.
Much as I trust Mr. Harris, just as a
All
forewarning.
right, got to get ready for the dump the video button here so we don't get yeeted for showing gruesome shit if they decide to show it. All right.
Okay, Mr. Fung, you can see the photograph that's People's 55 in evidence.
Yes.
All right. Now, do you see a piece of paper in this photograph that you did not see when you arrived at the Bundy crime scene on June 13th?
I don't know what you're referring to.
8 days was
Yeah.
and still is unheard of. A direct examination took like a day and a half, if I recall correctly. This just doesn't happen.
Is there something in particular you want me to?
Yes. Your Honor, I'm going to attempt to use the telestrator.
Just going to go out with John Madden and use the telestrator.
All right. How about put the arrow at the item that you're directing Mr. Fung's
Yes.
attention to?
Do you see where the arrow is pointing, Mr. Fung?
Yes.
All right. Does that appear to you to be a piece of paper?
Yes.
All right. You didn't see that piece of paper when you arrived at the Bundy crime scene, did you?
don't recall if I saw it or not.
Did you recover that piece of paper?
No.
Given the location of that piece of paper, in relation to the crime scene, do you believe that it might have some relevance?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
In your view, as a criminalist, if you had seen that piece of paper at the Bundy crime scene, would you have collected it as relevant evidence?
I might have.
Might have?
Yes.
Well, that piece of paper is close to the envelope.
It had the name, address, and phone number of the real killer on it.
Yes.
It is close to the body of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson.
Yes.
That is the what is being obliterated by the post-it on the right-hand side of the picture, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you would have collected it, would you not? Because it could have the shoe impression on it of one of the assailants.
If I had seen, assuming that I had seen the paper, I would have made a determination whether it would have been a good piece of evidence that would likely to have had some type of significance to it.
Right?
What?
What? If you had been at the scene, if you had seen that piece of paper, you would have examined it to see if it had shoe impressions.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly.
Or possible shoe impressions.
Possibly. You would have looked at it, right?
Yes.
For that purpose.
Man.
That would be one of the purposes.
That is one of the purposes.
All right.
Yes.
You would also want to see if you had been able to, whether or not that piece of paper had any writing on it.
Your Honor, I object. This is irrelevant.
Overruled.
Yes.
In terms of basic crime scene reconstruction, would you have considered the possibility that that piece of paper could have been ripped out of the hands of a killer?
Possibly.
It would be important to examine, in your judgment, that piece of paper for fingerprints.
Yes. In the state that it appears in the picture, yes.
And from the point of view of a criminalist, sir, it was a mistake not to collect that piece of paper.
Your Honor, I'll object because there's no foundation that saw it.
See,
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like
Yeah.
your
Oh, well, you
opinion,
can answer
man.
Possibly, yes.
serious mistake.
It could have been a mistake.
That's argument most of the story.
Oh, he's answered the question. Proceed.
So you said you've admitted, yes, it's a mistake.
Your Honor, I object.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Is there any question in your mind, Mr. Fung, that if you had been at this crime scene and seen that piece of paper where it was located, that you would have attempted to collect it with great care?
The Akita was lonely because Nicole was
Any
dead.
question?
Your Honor, perhaps the
I-
witness needs to look at a photograph of better resolution.
Overruled.
Well, I had one.
Yes.
Answer.
Looking at the picture and the condition of the paper, I probably would have collected it.
You're saying probably. My question to you, is there any doubt whatsoever in your mind that you would have picked up that piece of paper if you'd been there to see it?
Argumentative.
Overruled.
Fuck.
I don't know.
You don't know?
That's argumentative.
Hello? Dennis? Dennis? Hey.
When you examine the crime scene later, Mr. Fung, you observed a Bonita Ecuador label, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And can you point out where in the photograph that Bonita Ecuador label was?
Your Honor, it may be necessary to see the rest of the photograph.
Overruled. Can you tell from this photograph where that label was?
In a general sense, yes.
Can you give us a general sense of where it was located?
It was located someplace near the center of the walkway.
Mr. Harris has a roving arrow, and perhaps you could direct it.
Lower, over more to the right. In that area someplace.
Okay, can we make a mark? All right. Now that is the location where you found the Bonita Ecuador label.
Around there, yes.
All right. And you collected that.
Yes.
You thought that was relevant evidence.
I collected that at the request of Detective Lang.
So Detective Lang thought that was relevant evidence.
Yes.
Did you agree with his judgment?
I didn't question it.
You didn't question it.
That's correct.
And generally speaking, Mr. Fung, you don't question the judgment of the homicide detectives, do you?
It's a little overbroad.
Sustained.
So you picked up the Bonita Ecuador label, but you're telling us you're not sure whether or not you would have picked up the piece of paper in that photograph?
It's argumentative.
Sustained.
Okay, I guess we'll print that out and mark this. Maybe, should we put a BE over that little spot as Bonita Ecuador?
Your Honor, I just think it's important. I don't know whether the telestrator does this, but I think it's important for the record to indicate what section of the photograph is blocked off. I don't know if that's done once they print it out.
It'll be on the print.
All right. Proceed.
Now, Mr. Fung, what is trace evidence?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, we need to mark this. Why don't we make, since it is a copy of the People's Exhibit, let's make this 55A.
All right, well, we're gonna end this here today. We've been going for a little over 2 hours, and this is a good breaking point before we get into this whole trace evidence thing. Well, that time went really quick. It's now like 2 a.m. here. I'm supposed to be over on Megan Fox's channel like an hour and 15 minutes ago, but you know, hey, my life is out of control. But that's kind of that's a real. Sorry, Barry. I don't want to get you with like your knuckle up. That's like he's just jamming his knuckle up his nose. Sorry, that's disrespectful of me. Oh, all right. Well, that's where we end today. He's taken this another beating, just another round of beating on evidence collection, on his observational skills. He sees a clothing label. He doesn't see a piece of paper. We'll never know what's on that piece of paper. Could have been directions on who to kill, where they were. Could have been anything. But apparently he didn't see that in his careful examination. He's got Furman collecting evidence without gloves, handing things over fences, all kinds of, this stuff. It's just not going well. It's not going well for him at all. Hopefully we'll be able to finish up the afternoon session next week. Probably not. Probably be 2 weeks to get the afternoon session done. But again, as I said, this just builds and builds and builds over the next several days of cross-examination. And the things that seem like they're irrelevant are all tied in. I mean, this, again, I repeat myself as much as Barry Scheck repeats himself. This cross-examination is absolutely world-class. I mean, just it's far and away the best cross-examination of anybody I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And other legal scholars and legal opinion having people say it's the best cross-examination since the Scopes monkey trial in the 50s. So, you know, it's that good. And it just keeps getting more and more brutal. You can already see just after one morning of cross-examination how done with all of this Dennis Fung is. And when we get into the morning of the next day, it's pretty interesting. There's some interesting things that happen. Let's get through the last few comments here. Barbara Vance says, any opinion on the Idaho case, talking about not televising the case or releasing info to the public? My understanding is they are televising it. His first appearance, I know they're going to televise it. There was talk about setting up cameras in the courtroom and stuff. They're going to televise this. I don't think there's any question they're going to televise it. As far as the officials not releasing, any evidence or information, they're under a gag order to not release any information that has to do with guilt, innocence, things like that from now until the judgment is rendered, till the verdict comes in. I think that's a good thing. It stops this speculation, this weird stuff, and we're just going to be able to see the official documents until the trial, and then hopefully we'll get to watch the trial as well. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's a good deal. The jury pool is tainted AF right now. So I think there needs to be some die down. There needs to be stuff has to stop going out into the public until it's presented as evidence in trial or until it's raised in motions that are public records and whatnot. Meme Copium has just texted me 4 seconds ago. What is this? He sent me a PDF of some sort that is taking a long time to download. While that downloads, I guess we've already done the court thing. The probable cause affidavit has been released. Cool. I think I need to talk about that tomorrow. Very interesting. I might have to do a pre-show tomorrow for a couple of hours before we do the drunk show. Ooh, interesting. Wow, this is apparently a very big document. It's still downloading. So, all right, Meme just sent that to me. So cool, it's been released. Was there a reason why it was an 8.5 day cross-examination? Yeah, because there was just that much that they had to question him on. That's just kind of how many mistakes were made. And how was Fung allowed to be pummeled? It's cross-examination. They can cross-examine him on anything that was brought up during the direct examination, as long as the questioning is proper. And that's what the objections are for. So, all right, this thing is still downloading. This has got to be a massive document. But all right, well, we will pull the plug on this here today. I'll figure out what to do about this probable cause affidavit tomorrow. I don't know how we'll work this, but we'll do something about it. Probably start a couple of hours early. Just spend some time by myself going over it. And then at 8 a.m. Eastern, we're going to start the F It Friday drunken, booze-filled Griftapalooza begathon, where I try to liberate as much money as possible from your pockets 1 day a month while I get liquored up with a group of friends, with a lot of friends. So we'll have a lot of fun tomorrow. Join us for that. You do not want to miss that. That will start at 8 a.m. sharp, 8 a.m. Eastern time sharp, 1 p.m. UK time, and we'll go until I just can't go anymore, hopefully. Boy, I'm just waiting for this. I'll end this as soon as we figure out how big this document is. We're almost about 90% downloaded now. This has got to be massive. Waiting. We've cleared all the comments. Did I get all the super chats? Yes, we got all the super chats. We got all the comments that I had tagged, and we're just waiting for them to show this up. Dar says most of his audience is drinking coffee while he gets wasted. I don't know how this works, and it works because it's hilarious. Darth is the correct answer. That would be 2 p.m. Norway. All right, it's only 19 pages. Why the hell did it take so long to download 19 pages? Statements. This is Exhibit A. Statement of Brett Payne. Ooh. This appears to be pretty detailed. Goncalves Mogan were located at the bar. Camera footage reviewed. Law enforcement officers provided video footage. There's some pictures. Oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah, I'll do my best to start 2 or 3 hours early tomorrow, just to get this going. So, all right, that's it. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, I'm sure lots of other people are going to talk about it while I'm asleep, but I'm sure I'll be talking about it over on Megan's channel in just a minute. So we're going to wrap this up. Mods, thank you for being here, and thank you for putting up with me for being 2 hours later than normal to do this. I apologize for keeping it. It'd be 2 p.m. Norway time for Fedorovsky, 1 p.m. in UK, 8 a.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. my time, midnight Canberra time. So there we go. Right, mods, again, thank you so much for doing this. Chat, thank you for being here. Guys, they're just watching, listening in the background as you go about your day. Flux, you're nursing your headache, your migraine. Thank you all. Hit that like button. Come back later and hit that like button. We got 448 likes. And I think we broke even on the we didn't lose any, we didn't gain any on the subs, and our poll, it ended up being a damn near dead heat. I hit the like button. 23% of you said, like, I want to hit Nancy Grace. 24% of you said you hit the like button right now because you reminded me. Also, 24% of you said I hit the like button ages ago because I was here first. And the winner, 29%, I hit the like button a bit late, but not as late as you. The poll is ended. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you all tomorrow. I'll figure out what to do about the Idaho deal. Check back here. Hit that notification button just to make sure you get notified. Check out my Twitter, The Legal Vices at Twitter. That'll have the schedule, and we'll get through this as much as possible. Wrapping this up, Xcomer Triple Z says MILF Manor starts January 15th on TLC. Let us know how it goes. Ladies, gentlemen, Fedorovsky, Execution, y'all take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow for F-It Friday with a very, very good possibility of there being an Idaho pre-stream. Until we see you tomorrow, thank you, take care, and enjoy your legal vices.